Hey, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be looking at trying to repair this A-core stem. Some of you might remember it came on the Kona shoot, and typical of the parts that were on that bike, it's broken. See, the problem is at some point one of the steerer clamp bolts has been done up so tight it's threaded, or someone randomly tried to drill it out. Either way, it's no bueno. What I want to try is some metal epoxy putty. A two-part putty that's set solid enough to hopefully allow me to sand, shape, drill and tap the repair. If it works, I'll have a fairly nice looking stem, so let's get to it. Oh, and I'm also going to try and repair the XD brake lever and XD thummy that came on the Scott way back. Someone in the past had drilled straight through the mounting point and hammered a bolt through, so I'm hoping this putty works. First up, I'm going to try and clean and scuff up the surfaces that the putty needs to adhere to. Some coarse sandpaper and brake cleaner should do the trick. Next up, I'm making a little backstop out of a piece of card wrapped in cling film. This should hopefully stop the putty from being pressed right out the back. To get the putty ready, I cut off a small slice, took off any of the wrapping and kneaded it until it was one uniform colour. Then I pressed it into the stem, trying my best to force as much of the putty into the hole as possible. It does say the putty hardens in 10 minutes, but I left it an hour or so before I started to shape the excess with a file. It was actually surprisingly easy to shape. The real test though is the drilling and tapping. It might be good for filling a hole, but how do the claims on the packet hold up? Well, it needed an M6 bolt, so I carefully drilled a 5mm hole and followed it up with an M6 tap. Apart from a bit of blowout on the backside, it seemed to work, although it did seem very crumbly. First test, and yeah, the bolt thread's in there. It does seem a little looser than the standard thread though. I think I'm going to have to destroy it to see how well it fares. Taking it to the failure point where the thread's stripped, the repair achieved 13.57 Newton meters. Considering stem torque values are often given between 5 and 10 Newton meters, the repair should be okay, but there isn't much of a buffer zone on the repair. Especially when you look at the original bolt and original threads, which took 25 Newton meters. Maxing out the torque wrench, and it didn't feel at all like either were failing. FYI, an 8.8 tensile strength M6 bolt has a recommended torque setting of 11.8 Newton meters, and a 12.9 tensile strength goes all the way up to 19.9 Newton meters. Okay, so conclusion, and this is based off just one test. The putty did seem to work. It filled the hole. It was easy to work with both before and after setting, but the torque value from this one test was quite low. Maybe it would have got more if I'd waited long to drill and tap though. It's worth a shot in a repair situation, but just remember it's always going to be weaker, so check those torque values. And as for the brake lever and thumb repair, the brake lever went okay. It seemed to patch it nicely and it clamps up to a bar, but the thread on the thummy didn't work. It was partly down to the hole not being very deep and the tap itself having a point rather than a flat end. So as soon as the point hit the bottom, it stripped the threads. And that's one that I need to redo. Anyway, I hope this little video was informative and maybe even helped some of you. Hit that like button for me, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you in the next one.